but understanding who you are, because each person's just got a different battery, different priorities, different comforts. And if you try to make your partner stick to that because it's your way of working, then I think you're only looking through your lens, and I don't think that's a healthy balance.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Honey, We Need to Chat.
We are a podcast all about communication in relationships, and we believe that when communication dies, bad things happen.
Yeah, that's right. We are just your everyday couple discussing everyday topics. Our goal and hope is that we can encourage you guys to realize that you can do the exact same thing. So that is what we are doing here.
Yeah, we're one example
thank
of
you for joining us.
navigating these intricacies. Yeah, thank you for joining us. If you're following along video-wise, and even if you see the social media over the last 2-3 weeks, you'll see that every time it's just slightly different. And I cannot figure out how to get the camera to not make one of us look like a giant and one of us not.
Yeah.
And today we're coming from a really intense downward angle before we were a really intense upward angle. So nothing's flattering.
No.
Nothing's working.
Well,
but
you're not seeing up my nasals
your nails
today.
Your nails.
You're not seeing up my nasals.
Yeah. Well, it's good not to see up your nasals. Was that happening last week?
I don't know.
Oh, okay,
but I was very self-conscious about it.
Oh, right?
From the
I didn't
angle of
even
the
know.
camera.
Yeah. Well, it's just been transition. So thank you for your patience and your grace. And thank you for the lack of judgment that I know you had over any appearance of any clip that you've seen.
That's right.
Yes.
And we want to be pros. We want to be.
We were.
Not.
Well, no, sorry, we weren't pros, but we had a nice setup going.
We had a good setup.
Had a really good setup going. And as you would have heard, we've moved our baby into our office. And so we are now in our room, which doesn't have the space. But we are hoping in the future to have a really nice setup again. So just bear with us as we navigate the in-between. So today we're doing a Reddit story episode, and we're going to dive into some juicy Reddit stories. But how are you out of 10 before we do that?
I am a 7, I reckon. And I heard a comment once about someone wishing we would be below a 7. So I'm going to say 6.8.
Why? Why so low, baby?
Well, the reason why they want us below it because they feel like we're always high. We're not always high. But when we do the podcast, we're usually higher. So I'm going to go below 7 to
so you're
fulfill
pretending.
A wish of a chatter.
Okay. Well, there you go, chatter.
6.8.
The special treatment you get as chatters.
Mm-hmm.
What's the 6.8 for?
And I don't want to say it, but it's true. I feel more tired today. The reason I don't want to say it is because you had a much rougher night than I did. So I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't know why I feel tired. I'm not sure if my tiredness is not necessarily tired, but more busy mind. And you know when you feel like you get really foggy, right? It kind of feels like tired.
Yeah.
But then you could go for a run or something, but you just feel tired in the head.
We've discussed the mental side of fatigue before in our relationship.
Yeah.
And I think when you say, not that you aren't tired, but when you say things like, I'm tired, your body starts to react as if you're tired. And so if you are explaining, a fuzziness or a busyness or like even just a mental exhaustion, but it's not like a physical exhaustion, and you're saying, I'm tired, I reckon your body will give you the evidence that you're tired.
Yeah.
Really interesting. Plus, I mean, there was broken sleep there for you as well. It just wasn't as broken as mine.
Yeah. But we don't need to ask you. No, I'm joking. Well, I just know it's going to be more tired. And I want to feel tired.
I don't feel tired.
Don't you?
Not really.
Oh, good on you. How are you out of 10?
Maybe 8, 7, 8.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good. Amy had a broken sleep last night because we've got a sick toddler.
Yeah, he's not well.
And he was just not going down last night.
He has been a struggle town baby with sleep. If something throws him out, he's really out. And he's not yet safe enough to fully trust. So I went and lay on his floor, but I can't fully trust that he's not just going to get up and do whatever he wants. Yeah. And he's not quite safe enough to do that. So I was kind of just half of my brain was like, don't let him get up. Don't let him get up.
Yeah. Well, he would get up and do whatever he wants. It's just whatever he wants will cause death.
Yeah, it's not safe. Yeah. Anyway, so other than that, just busy. But busy's good. I'm excited about this topic as well.
Oh.
So today we're talking about social lives and relationships.
Social lives and
social dynamics in relationships. And it's a big topic that could range from a ton of different subtopics. So we've just got a little bit of an overview today. We also have a chatters episode where we're going to dive into the idea of especially men as you age and the social isolation that comes with that. And so we're going to dive into that through a story and through a little bit of extra content. So if you want to hear that conversation, hop on over to Patreon. We'd love to have you there. We also have an exciting giveaway this week because we just ticked over 30 episodes,
Yeah,
which is
we did.
really exciting for us. We're super stoked that we're still here doing this.
Yeah, I know.
And so our giveaway is exclusively to our listeners. So if you listen, even if this is your first time listening and you just happen to catch this episode, good for you. You can enter the running for a giveaway of a $100 gift voucher of your choosing.
What?
Online. And I'll tell you how to enter that at the end of the episode. So stick around till then.
Also, while we have you here, and you wouldn't be anywhere else because you already are listening, please, whatever you're listening on, if you're Spotify, YouTube, any other platform out there, please like, share, subscribe. That actually goes a huge way for us.
Yep.
So yeah, if you are welcome to join us and support us through Patreon, which is very, very little, by the way. There's not much at all to subscribe to Patreon. I think it's like a couple of bucks, $3 or something a month, and not much at all. So go over there. We'd love your support on there. But also, if you can't do that, please just take the moment, 2 seconds, like, share, subscribe. That would be amazing. Yeah, a review. That would be helpful. Very, very helpful for us. 30 episodes. We are loving it. We're really enjoying it, but we need your help to get to that next level. So please take the time, 2 seconds, do those things. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah. And I also want to acknowledge those that have been continuously reviewing, because I do see them tick up every now and then. I just don't notice it very often. I looked at it yesterday and I just love seeing those little 5-star ratings
thank you guys
on
so much.
Spotify. Yeah. So thank you guys. Really appreciate those that have taken the effort. Really appreciate all of you. But especially those that have taken the effort to do that. So let's dive into Reddit, I reckon.
Let's do it. Let's dive.
Honey, we need to chat.
So, social lives in relationship. Also sounds like I'm saying social wives in relationship.
So it sounds like you're saying socialize.
Or socialize. It's like that. Realize. Real eyes. What's the other one?
I don't know.
It's realize. I've seen it like 3 times this week and it was like from the noughties. So I don't know why all of a sudden it's popped up. It's realize, like realize. Real eyes.
Real flies.
Real skies? I don't know. There's some other one. You guys are all going to be screaming at your phones like, that's what it is. And it's stupid. Why are you saying it, Amy? Okay, first story is it a red flag for a partner to have no friends to hang out with? It's me. I'm the one who has no friends to hang out with. 29.
Oh, that's not you saying that. That's you reading.
I also, no, I do. I have lots of good friends. Yeah. This is the person saying this. It's me. I'm the problem. It's me. I'm the one with no friends to hang out with. They all moved out of state a long time ago, and when COVID first hit, it became almost impossible to make new ones. I recently met someone who I really, really like, and I know he likes me. He has plenty of friends and can easily make new ones since he's quite extroverted. I'm the opposite, and it's hard to meet new people without feeling terribly awkward. One of my family members was recently talking about how weird it is to be in a relationship with someone who doesn't have any friends. They were not talking about me, but they did get me thinking that maybe I should start putting myself out there more. So the question that they ask is it a red flag for a partner to have no friends to hang out with?
I don't think it's a red flag, and that might be me just being a boomer and not understanding what red flag fully means. Am I a boomer?
No.
What am I?
You're a millennial. But if you want to put yourself in with the boomers, you're more than welcome to.
Because I'm a millennial and I don't fully understand what red flag
or
means.
what the age groups, what is it, demographics?
I have no idea. Boomer just sounds cooler than millennial.
It probably is.
I don't think it's a red flag if your partner doesn't have as many friends or struggles to make friends, but I do see the maybe this is a red flag. I do see an area for isolation, and I know isolation can be troublesome.
Yeah.
So with my work, we support dads. So during that perinatal period, which means before birth and after birth, so antenatal period and postnatal period is sort of where we journey with dads about how to, one, build up dads to better support mum and kids, but also at the same time, for a lot of dads, and this was definitely me, when we had our firstborn, like I really isolated myself because my attention was very much on Amy and our firstborn. And I don't know if you remember, and I probably wasn't overly obvious, but internally I put a lot more effort into like, hey, you should go hang out with your friends. You should do this. And I was trying to get you out of the house more because you were always at home. And not that was a bad thing. I think it was very, very important that you went out and filled your cup, right? So because we've spoken about filling each other's cups, but I neglected my own because I wasn't getting that social side of things. I wasn't really looking after myself and my own cups, if that makes sense. I became more and more isolated, and I didn't struggle a lot in the early years, but I definitely struggled on later years. So when we had our third, so it was fine for our first two. I was like, cool, this is sweet. When we had our third, I really isolated myself, and I just didn't have solid support networks around me for when I did struggle. And so the struggle was just a lot more of a struggle because I didn't have people around me to support me and so forth.
Yeah.
So is it a red flag? I don't really know what that means. But what I would say, I do see a danger about people isolating themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. I think my understanding of red flag is something that indicates, oh, they're probably not a good person to be with. Not good, but like that could be problematic for me. I don't know if I want to enter into that space.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of hard to answer, is it a red flag or not? Because it's totally dependent on the person and their attitude and their situation. I don't think it's a red flag necessarily. I do think it's an area to be aware of for concern for your partner. I don't think, if we were married and then all of a sudden, which I mean, we are married. You just described this dynamic playing out for you. It's not like all of a sudden you became a red flag and I was like, oh, I shouldn't be with someone I should actually just more be like, how can I support you in this?
Yeah.
So no, I don't think, especially if this person writing in is the one saying that they're the red flag. So I don't even think it's not even up to them to decide, really. It's up to their partner to decide who they want to be in partnership with. But I think instead of it being like, oh, I don't look like a good partner, maybe use it as an opportunity to get more emotionally intimate with each other and vulnerable with each other, and use that as an opportunity to build together, to build yourselves up to being better versions of yourselves, which I think relationship, when it's done well, can do that really well.
Yeah, and I know it is a big issue for a lot of couples though, or for some couples, is like you'll have one partner that's they're quite socially struggle with a bit of social anxiety, and so they don't go out. They want to be home. That's a safe space. They want to do that, and that's actually broken down a relationship because it's the other person's the opposite. It's like, no, I want to be social with my partner. I want to do this, and I can, I know a few examples where that's actually ended the relationship because the values there were quite different. So I think validating what people are wanting in a relationship is still really important through that. But at the same time, does it mean they're a bad person or that it's like this huge red flag? I don't think it's a huge red flag. It's just, again, aligning with values. But yeah, I don't know too much inside their relationships to be able to comment. But yeah,
I think the red flag element of it would be the approach that the person's taking. If they were like, I don't have friends, it's too hard to make friends, I'm not even going to try, that's when it's a red flag. And again, you decide for yourself, especially your early days of relationship. There's so many different variances in how someone might be when you meet them. How they are should be taken into account. How they can be should be taken into account. And you decide that as a person, what you're willing to join with. But the red flag would be, for me, the longer term attitude approach, which in this kind of example that you've just given, if someone refuses to work on that, if they refuse to acknowledge that it's important, or they refuse to work on it, or they refuse to become healthier in a space, that's when that's a really hard attitude to come into relationship with, because how do you thrive in that? So I think, not the red flag, something they're aware of it because they've written in, so that's awesome. And I think feeling awkward is one thing. Doesn't mean that you don't have friends. It doesn't mean that you're stuck and you'll never have friends. That's something you can absolutely work on, and also find the right people.
If you're that other person in the relationship and you are you are concerned about your partner, I think what is important to do is ask the question, like, why ask that why, have that attitude of curiosity, which we always talk about, is why are they isolating themselves? I see it, and through research and through my experiences for myself and also through my work, I see danger points from people isolating. But I think what's really important is we don't come at it of like, you shouldn't do that, and sort of put them down. Or for a lot of people, it's like, well, okay, for example, you don't isolate yourself, but you're very much of a homebody. You would much rather stay at home and like all the time. Like COVID was terrible, but isolation, you loved it. I really, 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 really struggled, and that's where I had a lot of mental health issues coming out of that isolation because I struggled so much. For you, where do you see the point of, all right, this is getting a little bit maybe dangerous, or not dangerous is probably an extreme way of saying it, but from you, how do you monitor being a homebody, love being at home, but also recognizing the importance of socializing?
Well, I think I have and had people speaking into my life all the time. So I had important people in my life that I enjoyed spending time with. It's just that if I was to look at, if I want to go out today or if I want to stay home, I'd probably almost always opt for staying home. And I don't think, people will disagree and that's their deal, but I don't think that's a red flag or an unhealthy thing necessarily. It's unhealthy if, like, I'm not moving, like I'm not doing exercise, which is something that I've navigated. But I think if I had started to remove myself from relationship with people in that's when it would become an unhealthy thing. If I removed myself and especially if I started to depend on you fully for that and I didn't let there be any kind of like sharing of that responsibility, I think the unhealthy element comes in with how the weight that you put on certain relationships or the weight that you put on removing yourself from that. And then also like, if you want to be in that place or not. Like if you're happy there. Some people really are happy to just have one or two really good friends. And that's it. And I actually don't see that as a problem.
No.
If they're healthy and they're in a good place. I think if it's because they don't think they can, or they don't think they're worthy, or they don't think that they can get out of their house, or there's other mental health things playing into it, that's when I would be like, that's probably something to look at.
Yeah. No, that's good.
All right. Moving right along. You're just moving. Cool. I thought you were going to say something else. All right. How do you balance time between friends and significant other? Me, 32 male, and significant other, 37 female, have different views on what is an acceptable amount of time to spend with friends each week. After being together, she has stopped hanging out with friends altogether and believes time should be primarily spent just the two of us. While I agree our relationship is most important, it's also important to catch up with friends 2 to 3 times a month. Dinner, drinks, after work, etc. I think I say etc. wrong, by the way. I was listening to another podcast and they dived into, they're like, oh, I just found another word I say wrong and it's etc. And I was like, oh, I say that wrong. It's etc.
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 But isn't it?
Hey, Google, how do you say etc.? Etc. Etc. It's no X. Same as espresso and
how do you
espresso.
spell etc?
It's ETCER or something.
I think I always just had in my head EX.
Yeah. So apologies to all of the people that are just those kinds of people and get annoyed if people say things wrong, which is me when it's not me talking. All right. So anyway, back to the story. For context, her and I hang out daily. I'd love to hear opinions from larger group on what works for your relationships. How do you prioritize relationships and friends?
Yes. Can you sneeze away from the microphone next time, please?
No, I can't physically do that. My child turned and sneezed in my face the other day. I think it was the youngest one.
Really?
No, you know what? I'm mixing it up. He did that. And then also the oldest one had to sneeze and turned into his brother's face on purpose and sneezed. And do you recognize the pattern across all these stories?
No.
They're all boys. All right.
To the story.
Yeah.
I've never done that, so they can't see that from me. There's not something that they've watched and
I'm not
copied.
saying you did it. I'm saying you're kind.
My kind. So to the story, it's down to different needs, right? And this is what's important too, is that you go on that journey of exploring what others' needs are. again, you're a lot less social. I'm a lot more social. You're a lot more comfortable at home. I get very, very, very fidgety and everything if I just stay at home the whole time, which has been something we've had to work through because I work from home. Right, so I work from home. I live at home, obviously. We don't get out, especially we've just come out of winter in Victoria. We don't get out nowhere near as much during that period because the weather's not as good. So it's like, it's rainy, it's wet, and with a toddler, and we've got 4 kids, it's even extra effort because the toddler will just walk on his face. So, like, we're going through those things. So I actually struggle quite a bit during winter, like mentally and motivationally, and I feel lazy and I feel sluggish and I feel all these different things because it is something that I struggle with because of my personality and my needs.
Yeah.
You're the opposite. You love being at home. You love any excuse to not have to go out and stuff like that. So it suits you more. I need to see friends. I have to be talking with people. I have to. If I don't, I get really low. I just struggle through that period. It's a need that I have.
It's different needs, and if I was to say to you, you can't go out because I don't want to go out, that would be really unhealthy.
Yeah.
And if you were to say to me, we have to go out all the time because I don't want to go out alone, that would be really unhealthy. Not really unhealthy, but to the extreme example, I think that's an unhealthy dynamic. And understanding where each other is at, and I think challenging each other to step out of that, maybe what could become a comfort zone and like a default, is important as well. But understanding who you are, because each person's just got a different battery, different priorities, different comforts. And if you try to make your partner stick to that because it's your way of working, then I think you're only looking through your lens. And I don't think that's a healthy balance. And it sounds like she sees him every day. They hang out every day. But she wants to spend all the time just them two, and hasn't quite got the same priority on socializing as he does. And I think that's the big issue there. It seems like she's not taking into account, for whatever reason, could be anxiety, what he needs in that space.
At the same time, too, we don't have information on how long they've been together and stuff like that, too. But what's important from this? Okay, so hypothetically, this was you and I. You had a struggle with me wanting to socialize, and you feel like, from hearing what she's saying, I think where I would focus on in my challenge for myself, if you said that to me, would be like, all right, well, what's the time like that we're spending together?
True, yeah.
So is it a matter of that she needs to spend more time with me or better time with me? And what does that look like? Because more time could easily just be like, we watch TV every single day. What are you talking about? Like, but it's not quality.
Yeah.
And I think that's been a big challenge for me, for sure, is because that's been definitely our scenario. I remember in our earlier days, for sure, and it was like, what do you mean? We're always hanging out.
Yeah,
but you're like,
yeah.
but there was something missing for you, and that was the quality.
Yeah.
And we had to be intentional with date nights. We had to be intentional with the time that we spent together. And to be richer, we discussed a lot of things that we're discussing on the podcast. We looked up questions online.
We did funner things.
Yeah.
I think the attitude that, just thinking about how that would have been for us back in the day and how it could be for these guys, if I saw, and I can't remember if this was the case or not, but if I saw that you were more excited going out to see your friends, and there was a more excitement and like looking forward to, and just kind of the whole vibe was a bit more like upbeat, I think that could speak something to me, be like, well, hang on, why do you feel that way about seeing your friends when you don't feel that way about seeing me? And that would be exactly what you've explained. It could be the quality time. So what you're filling that time with, how you're approaching time together, the intentionality you have with that time. Is he looking into what makes her feel special and what she might want to do, versus just planning what he wants to do with his friends and that kind of thing. The other thing too is if he wants to catch up with friends like multiple times a month, which isn't that much, but and he's wanting her to come into spaces where she's not comfortable, which we have no idea, again, context isn't there, then that could be a weird thing too. If she's like, I'm not comfortable with these people, and I don't feel seen or understood in the way that you're wanting us to constantly see them.
Or she's wanting to join in, but she's not being invited.
Exactly. Yeah. So looking at that dynamic exactly. So I think looking at it from your partner's perspective, that curiosity is going to help you understand and kind of unstick this situation, because if you can see where they're coming from, what they might be feeling and what they might be needing from both sides. And you can communicate about it and just try and find a way that there's like a comfy medium. I don't think it's a make or break. I just think it's a matter of exploring that and getting a better understanding of each other with gentleness.
The other the other thing too, and you made a good point there about like his attitude about going out compared to staying with her, and just the way that it comes across. I feel like there's a lot of unsaid things in any journey. There's a lot of unsaid things. So when you talk about quality time as well, like I think again what you just said sort of was a light bulb moment for me too. It's how we approach that quality time. If that quality time and like there's probably if that quality time is comes across as an effort or a downgrade or a chore or obligation or any of that, it's not quality. It's obligation. And you like if that was my attitude towards our time together, you would feel that, you would see that, and that wouldn't be quality time. So it's that focus too of like, what you would be needing in that time, especially if you brought it to me. Because again, just sort of addressing some of the write-ins that we've had and the conversations that we've had with different chatters is about like I do this or I do that, and it's it's still an issue. But sometimes the thing isn't what is needing to be done. It's how things are meant to be coming across. And you don't want to fake it till you make it, but you need to be working on yourself in the way that you approach these things. If you're seeing it as obligation, it will come across as obligation.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you are excited about this time that you're going to spend with your partner, it's going to be an exciting time. Yeah. And that's where the quality will come into.
And I think you can default with family to not... And it makes sense. Like you're so busy and stressed and everything needs your attention and energy. So it's easy to default with family to the comfort zone. So be like, oh, I don't want to have to think about things. I'm with my family. I can kind of switch off a bit. But if you can challenge yourself to keep putting effort in mentally, even as you're preparing for it, even as you're like getting ready to talk to them about it, even as you're planning for the night, whatever it might be, challenging yourself internally is going to feed out into how they read your attitude about it. And could make a huge difference in how they feel loved and how they feel the excitement is that you have for them. Which I think I feel like we would do this all the time with like each other and with our kids, and even with our extended family and our parents and siblings and that kind of thing. It's not that we don't love them, and it's not that we don't want to spend time with them. It's not that they're not special. They're actually so special that they fall easily into this default basket, which is upsetting for those people. But it's they are that special. So we just need to continue to make sure that we're treating them as that special rather than treating them as a given, as a default, which I think is kind of an underpinning of what happens in relationships so much, especially as you have kids and life gets more busy and full. That's why they talk about the honeymoon period. Like, of course, everything's like new and exciting. It's easy to keep that in the beginning, but it's not as you kind of get into real life. Cool. All right, next story. I'm jealous of my boyfriend for having friends. I've had a series of very unfaithful friends throughout my life, and whenever I keep thinking I found a friend who wouldn't turn their back on me over time, I tend to have them do exactly that. My boyfriend is a pretty social person and has a big friend group. They're all super nice, but I just can't help but feel so jealous when he goes out to hang out with them. I know it's wrong, I shouldn't be selfish about it, but I wholeheartedly wish I had what he has with his friends. I've explained these thoughts and feelings to him before, so he knows about it, but I still feel so jealous whenever he goes out with his friends or has sleepovers with them, and every few hours he tells me what amazing plans they've got for the evening while I'm rotting in my room. I'm assuming these are young, because most people don't. Well, whatever. Most people don't keep having sleepovers. Maybe they do. No judgment here. I want to get over feeling so jealous, but I don't know how. I've tried meeting new friends, explaining my need for more social interactions to my current ones, but none of that seems to work. If anyone has any tips, please let me know. Don't be shy about being brutally honest about it. Tough love helps the most.
Yeah, they sound young. They do sound young. But hypothetically, if they're not, and it's 40-year-olds having sleepovers and stuff, more power to them.
More power to them in the right context.
This is actually a good one. I don't have the answer for this, and I mean I don't have the answer for a lot of things, but this has been something that I've actually heard quite a lot of guys bring up about how do we better support our partners in socializing in or knowing what they want to do or like with their careers and or whatever else. Like it's actually been quite a big topic amongst guys. When the partner's struggling with making friends or whatever else, it's like, how do I help them do that? I don't know.
It's funny. It's so funny because I would totally be like, guys would be the ones needing help getting friends, but that's interesting. But I think across the board is what you're saying. How do I support my partner in this thing that they want and they don't have?
Yeah.
Basically. I think we've discussed getting really clear on what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this would work sort of work in this situation, especially the age is a part of it. So if this is high school is just such a challenging time for relationships because everybody is so caught up in their insecurities. If it's not, that's different. But getting really clear, I mean, even in high school, getting really clear on what you want. So for this person, she knows that she sees what her boyfriend's doing and has in his friendship groups, and she feels jealous about that. So I think spending time to get really clear on what kind of friendships and what kind of relationships you want would be really valid because you're then able to know what you're going to accept and what you're not going to accept. But even more importantly, you're able to identify who you need to be to have those friends. And I'm not in any way saying that she's not worthy of good friends. But what I do think plays out, especially when you're younger, is when you have insecurities around a certain area and that's what you just are taking on and believing and that's what fills your brain, you start to kind of project that in a weird way, even if it's just projecting the anxiety of that being the case. And this is absolutely what I navigated as a younger person and still probably do and have to catch myself because some people fall into this trap of just attracting people that will use you or people that will drain your energy or people that aren't actually as loyal and healthy and uplifting as you need them to be. And so I think getting out of that can be really hard if you've got insecurities around that. So getting clear on what it is you want, getting really clear on what you're going to accept, but also, and really importantly, getting clear on what you're going to bring to the table in this. If she's jealous of her boyfriend having these close friends, there's going to have to be an element of activity in terms of like active engagement in getting good close friends. And that sometimes is really uncomfortable. So I think challenging herself to put herself out there and be willing to offer what she wants to receive in return in a healthy way is going to be one of the most important things in terms of building that friendship.
And a big question, probably even to start, or not to start with. Start with is what relationship do I want? What do I want in friendship groups? Then the second thing is where could I find them? Right? Like, so what social settings would that? If you go to a nightclub and that's where you're hoping to find friends, look, the amount of like there's probably built off alcohol and whatever else is going on there. It's probably not the best place to meet someone and build that safe friendship group, right? But if you go to I don't know.
A social club that you're interested, if there's something you are interested in and that you engage in, putting yourself out there in those spaces, you'll find like-minded people.
Yeah.
Or community groups in the area. We are a part of a church. Church is awesome for finding friends. Or if you're a part of a school, like engaging in what the school has active that aligns with you.
Your local theatre group, your
dog
sports,
park, even.
dog parts.
Yeah.
Parts? Dog parts? Dog
okay,
parks.
Donald Trump. Dog parks? Yeah. Like wherever
dog parts.
wherever you're active, wherever you're inclined, being active in those spaces is a really good place to start. He's just having a good time in the background. And she's also saying, she's jealous of her boyfriend. How could her boyfriend support her? Is the curiosity. I think it'd be really interesting to know if she's told him. Oh no, she says she has.
Yeah,
she said she's explained his thoughts and feelings.
But she still feels jealousy over it.
Feeling jealousy comparison is the thief of joy. And so I think there's a healthy element in it being like, I don't have that and I really want that. That's a healthy thing and I really want that. I want to be loved and treated like that and I want to have that kind of relationship and do that for other people. There's a healthy element to being like, I can compare and see how this doesn't match up. But also, if you get too stuck on what other people have and what you don't have, it is a thief of joy, and it takes your focus off the positive of what you are trying to work on or what you are trying to work towards. It can just be like, I don't have that. And as we've spoken about before, your brain doesn't hear the negative, and it just will feed you the evidence that you're not living up to what you want, basically. So I think checking herself in terms of what she's feeding in terms of that jealousy and what's sitting behind that, and how that could be serving or not serving her, is important as well. Jealousy, I think you can throw around as a word, but it doesn't always mean I'm really actually just sitting there jealous. It could also mean I'm just sad that I don't have that. So checking what she means by jealousy and checking if that's serving her. And if it's not serving her, instead of being jealous, let's be proactive and let's own that process a bit.
Something that we're working on at the moment is, again, I've had a lot of these conversations, and we're wanting to, so Amy's has done some amazing training and courses because we want to be bringing greater opportunities and greater support to you guys. So we're not ready yet. It is coming. We've got a course coming out that's going to be helping with these sorts of things about navigating what do I want, or how do I navigate through a specific situation, and empowering you guys to do that yourself. Yeah. And the other thing too is that Amy will be opening up coaching soon, and to be able to do more intimate and more intentional sessions with you guys, especially, and to be able to do that. So just keep that in mind. We want to be able to bring greater support to you. If you are listening to this and you're like, especially to any topics that we're talking about, you're like, actually, this was a great resource for me in this situation, send that through. Go to honeyweneedtochat.com and send it through to us, because we're wanting to equip ourselves more. We're wanting to get better in our relationship, but we're also wanting to get better and be able to support you. So please send through those resources and those books or whatever else you've done, courses, whatever. We're wanting to equip ourselves better to better support you.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to talk from the boyfriend side of this, and you said that you know a lot of people that have really struggled. How do I support my partner in this? We will say it till we're dead. Curiosity. The attitude of curiosity. She's raised it with him. I have no idea how he's taken that, or what he's taken on board, or what kind of impact her sharing that has had. But if your partner has shared with you something like this, and you're not really sure where they're at, just check in. Be curious. Be curious about that. Be curious about how you might be able to support them in stepping out. Be curious about how you might be able to support them in bringing them into that group. I don't know if it's a group that she can be brought into or not, but like, how can he support her in this space? And even if it's a matter of like, she's really struggling with friends, I've got some great friends. Let's bring all of our partners together and we'll have a joint barbecue or whatever. And if you're in high school and you do a joint partner barbecue, what a mature thing to do.
Yeah, well done to you.
You could go ahead, do that.
Do it.
Probably a little bit more difficult than if you're an adult. But yeah, I think just finding ways that you can gently track with them on it. It's not easy when you're struggling with something to bring it up over and over.
Yeah.
But it will, if you're struggling with something, it will be brought into the way that you navigate a lot of situations. And so just because your partner said something to you one time and they haven't said it again, doesn't mean that it's not impacting your relationship or them on a regular basis. And so if you're able to actually actively listen when they're telling you things that they're struggling with, which is what we should all be strengthening, and then also actively track with them on those things, just because it's out of your realm doesn't mean it's not there. You can be a huge asset to them in processing. And on the flip side of that, if you have raised something that you're struggling with your partner, and then they haven't chased it up or they're not picking it up, it's not their responsibility necessarily to fix that or to be the one to track that. So if you've raised something, you're still wrestling with it, you still don't feel supported from your partner in that space, be very clear. Just get really clear, gently, in what you need, because people can't mind read, and we're just going to get ourselves all tied up thinking that someone's going to eventually just mind read what you need. And it doesn't help you get where you want to get. So that's my challenge there. Okay, last story for this, and then we're going to dive into the Patreon chat on males as they age. Not just males, it's across the board, but there is just a pattern in males as they age being more related, socially isolated. But yeah, one more story here. And also, if you're wanting to enter the giveaway, stick around. Last story. My boyfriend's toxic best friend is painful to be around. I, 38 female, can't stand being around Mr. X, 35 male, who is my boyfriend's 38 male boyfriend's best friend's boyfriend. Yeah, okay. You get the gist.
Mr. X.
Mr.
Hey?
X is the best friend that's toxic.
Classic.
Okay, he's loud, opinionated, verbally and mentally abusive towards his wife, manipulative, and generally unpleasant to be around. Other friends discuss how difficult he is, but seems to tolerate it. My boyfriend and I have been together for 18 months, and my discomfort with him has been growing daily. We traveled with them before COVID, and I vowed never to do that again, as he loudly criticizes servers, cruise directors, and security guards when things don't go his way or he feels anxious. He yells at his wife in public for things like walking too slowly or forgetting her suitcase outside the bathroom. Anxiety is real, and I feel it too, especially around him. I'm dreading the next time I have to see him, so I'm trying to find ways to avoid future events where he will be. I'm thinking of inventing an excuse to skip an upcoming river tube adventure because I think he'll be there. He's been friends with my boyfriend for almost 20 years, and I don't want to be the cause of a rift, so what should I do? He doesn't seem to be negatively impacting my boyfriend, who is incredibly loving and caring, which might be why they are still around. I've talked to my boyfriend. He sympathizes but doesn't support me when Mr. X acts out, even towards me. If anyone looks at his wife the wrong way, Mr. X will verbally attack them and defend her in a way that's only I can treat this woman poorly. I don't need anyone to defend me, but I also don't want to be around him. Besides trying to talk to him, what are some coping strategies? Why must I compromise my feelings to keep the peace? Feeling angry and anxious about my future with my boyfriend because of this difficult person cannot be the answer. Mr. X.
Mr. X, typical bad guy name. It's a hard one because is a length of a relationship, like 20 years, like friendship. You don't want to just be breaking up friendships, but at the same time, you still want to be able to communicate. She's been with her partner for 18 months.
Yeah,
all right, that's decent time. Like this is not like a month or two. It's 18 months. You've been together for a decent amount of time. I think that there still needs to be able to, the conversation still needs to be had. And we don't know the way that she brought it up with her boyfriend.
Yeah.
So, for example, if she's just sort of venting to her boyfriend and then she says, oh, he's still not doing anything about it. And even when Mr. X says something bad to her, for a lot of guys, obviously, again, 20 years, it seems like there's a level where the boyfriend isn't really affected by Mr. X, or maybe he's just not aware of it anymore because it's been for so long. Like, you know how you just become numb to certain things because you've just seen it so much.
It could have slowly developed over time, and he hasn't even really triggered how intense it is.
Yeah, but I think, okay, if hypothetically I'm the boyfriend, you're the write-in, I would expect you to be able to share with me, like, all right, cool, what, like, brainstorm with me on this difficult thing. If you just said, like, fix it, do something about it, I would find that very, very hard. I'd feel so tense. I'd feel like, all right, I've got to choose between my best friend for 20 years or my girlfriend, and girlfriend still needs to be a priority, I believe. Like, this sort of a relationship needs to be the priority, but there still doesn't necessarily mean like cut the relationship with the best friend, with Mr. X.
Yeah. It totally depends on the type of relationship too, because I mean, if they're best friends, then that's seems pretty tight. But the sentimentality of long-term friendships is very strong.
Yeah.
And so you can very easily find yourself tied into a relationship, not even because you get along really well and you like resonate together on the same things, whatever, but because of who you are to each other and how long you've been around and what you've walked through together. And it's a hard one to unpick because for him to turn around and be like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing it? And start questioning his friend, which may be a good thing to do, it's an intense thing to do. It's drawing a line in the sand where you haven't had that line before and where that hasn't been the dynamic of your relationship. And if he's a toxic person, I could totally imagine it turning around to just be like, oh, it's because of your girlfriend. It's because and like making it a whole like, who are you now? Like, you're whipped because you're with this girl. All of a sudden you're changing your attitude and that kind of thing. So the hard thing is navigating toxic people is always going to be difficult. Like, there's not probably going to be an easy, non-toxic way of navigating it, because I don't think people in this situation usually are very receptive to healthy communication and healthy constructive criticism.
But at the same time, like, I'm all for challenging those people.
100%.
You know, if you're toxic and I'm seeing you abuse your wife, like verbally yell at your wife, I'm still going to pull you up on it. I know it's not my relationship, but I'm still going to make a comment and say like, dude, that's a bit fusty, isn't it? Like, or something. Like, I don't know. But I'm someone that struggles to bite my tongue.
I was going to say that's who you are naturally as well. Yeah. And you wouldn't get 20 years into a friendship with someone that was like that, because that's just not the kind of people you surround yourself with, for better or for worse. I mean, like you tend to...
I'm quick to cut off.
You're quick to cut off. And that's something you have to work on and you aren't working on. So it's from someone who's the opposite. I really I struggle to hang up. Today, someone from HelloFresh called me, and we love HelloFresh. Support us. She called me, and she was getting me to do this survey, and somehow she talked me around to like buying 4. We don't want HelloFresh. Like, it doesn't fit.
Did you buy something?
No. In the end, this is what I had to do. She was like, no, like, we'll just extend it till October. Does October 27th say? And I just had to say, no, I'm sorry, I'm going to hang up now. And I just hung up. And I was like, I could just hang up. Or I could just say, no, I'm not interested. But instead, I just was like, I just have to say, no, I'm sorry, I'm hanging up now. Hope you have a good day. Then I pressed the button and hung up. The other day, someone came to our door, and he was so good. I think I may have mentioned this last week.
Yeah.
He was so good with his presentation. And what he was talking about was really like important work. But I didn't know how to say, no, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
And so for me, if this was me, and this was my 20-year-long best friend that was extremely toxic, I don't know how I would do that.
Yeah.
So many social dynamics would be messing my head up, and I would just be like, oh, that is in the way too hard basket. I think you would be like, just challenge and then stop talking to them.
Yeah.
I would be like, start to slowly stop talking to them. And just let the friendship fizzle.
But in saying that, it's funny that you said that. So very recent, actually, the other day, I had someone call me from a solar company, and straight away when they said solar, I hung up. Like they got to the word solar, and I hung up. Right, so I didn't listen. The other thing too is, like, someone knocked on the door in the last couple of months. Can't remember when. They knocked on the door and they was giving away free. It was free. It was one of those government scheme things, right? So it didn't cost us anything. You know those covers over the vents here?
Vents, yeah.
Yeah, like, so I saw that. I'm like, no thanks. He's like, it's free. I'm like, nah. And I cut them off. Now I'm seeing everyone with these vent things.
And I just the other day was like, I really wish we had those vent things.
I cut off too early. And for me, I'm like it's a scam somehow. I don't know. Like, so I think the worst of it. But again, like, I'm too quick to cut off. Like, I don't have that. There's got to be that in between where it's I'm always up for standing up against the bully or the toxic guy. Like, I'm always for that. But sometimes I become that to deal with that.
Yeah.
So that's the two things. So for her, if she comes at it from a perspective with Mr. X and like, you've got to deal with this guy, to her boyfriend, you've got to deal with this guy, and that it's kind of like meeting fire with fire. But if she doesn't do anything, well, she's just going to struggle the whole way through it, and nothing's going to happen. And there's got to be that middle ground somewhere where she can bring it up with her partner. They can actually look at it from a perspective of, this is going down a whole rabbit hole. But even, ideal situation, they've got all the emotional maturity and capacity in the world, right? This couple, they could be like, how can we help Mr. X? You know what I mean? How could we, maybe there's something going on for him that we can support him in. I don't know, but that's going down a whole other rabbit hole. But there's got to be a middle ground there somewhere.
I think when you're in a relationship with people, like she is in this relationship with her boyfriend, she's not obligated to spend time with Mr. X. So, and she needs to be careful to protect herself. And if she's feeling uncomfortable and she's feeling unsafe and even just observing someone treat their partner like that is really yucky. So I would even struggle from that element of being like, what do I do? That's not healthy. That's abusive. What do I do to protect this woman that's being abused? But she needs to put a boundary in place. So I don't think it's at all inappropriate for her to say, I'm not going to see him anymore. I'm not going to spend time with him anymore. I also don't think it's appropriate, especially because she's clarified that he doesn't seem to impact her partner. I don't think it's super appropriate at this stage for her to put a kind of ultimatum on her partner and say, I don't want you seeing him anymore. He needs to navigate that. And I think she can absolutely be,
a support.
But I don't think it would be healthy for her to say, we don't see them, as in you don't see him. I think it is very healthy for her to say, I don't see him. And then down the track, if they have kids and they build a family together, that's a whole other dynamic too, because it'd be like, I don't want my kids seeing him. I don't want my kids around that. So, but that's not their situation now. I think being curious about, what does this friendship give you? Like, what actually does this friendship give you? Because one thing we've learned in coaching is there are things that, from an outsider's perspective, doesn't serve somebody. So there's things that beliefs or there's patterns or habits or whatever that doesn't serve them. So they're doing something that's not serving, but that doesn't mean that it's not serving them in the moment. So it's an interesting dynamic, and an example of this would be someone's in a toxic relationship and they break off the toxic relationship. They do what they need to do in that space to be safe. And in that moment, they say, I am not going to surround myself with anyone who doesn't fill me up and uplift me. In that moment, it's serving them because they're protecting themselves and they're removing themselves from a horrible situation. And then, that's a helpful serving thing. 10 years down the track, if they've reinforced that thing for themselves and they're like, I don't surround myself with anyone that doesn't uplift me, they're going to find themselves really quick to cut people off. And this is probably actually something that's played out for you. I'd never even put this together, but I don't surround myself with people that don't serve me can become something that's no longer serving you as a person, because you are then at the point where you're cutting people off. You're not allowing relationship that encourages the best out of people, because you're like, they don't serve me, or they're not uplifting, so they're gone, rather than how can we be in relationship. So the belief that that person has implemented did serve them and no longer does. This woman might be looking at her partner and be like, why are you even friends with this person? It doesn't serve you. But there might be something that the friendship is serving him in. So it could be like, actually, it serves me because I don't have anyone that knows me the way he knows me. And I don't have anyone that just accepts me wholeheartedly the way that he does. And so even though that's not necessarily healthy, there could be a function that this relationship's serving. So I think getting curious with him and being like, what are you getting from this? Like, why are you friends with him? And then also getting curious with like helping the boyfriend figure out, was this friend like this before? Or where did this start happening? And what's gone along in the way? Is there anything I can input into? Like, I could ask my best friend, I've noticed you don't talk to your wife that great. What's going on there? Like, is there any space for that? I think that kind of curiosity is helpful. And then if he is like, actually, this friendship's not serving me at all, I don't want to be in this friendship, I just don't know how to get out of it, then supporting him in how to navigate that and be like, yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable, but I'll be here for you and we can figure out how to do those things. I think that's really helpful. But yeah, being clear on where the kind of lines of responsibility land. I don't think your boyfriend is all of a sudden responsible to cut this man out because you're not comfortable with him. It's super valid for you to express your discomfort. And specifically, if Mr. X is being rude to you, is being harmful to you and toxic, very, very valid to say, I don't feel safe around him and I don't feel supported by you around that either, because I don't see you standing up for me or holding a boundary there at all. So I do need to figure that out. That's valid as well. Yeah, so I think it's a tricky one, and it looks black and white when you first read it to some extent, but it's really not. It's very, very layered. And having a lot of grace in this space is going to be really important from her end and from his end, because there's going to be strong feelings, I think, that go beyond logic. They're not fresh. They're like long-term feelings that you'd have to be chatting through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's social lives in relationships.
Social eyes.
Real eyes.
Social eyes.
All right. Well, thank you for listening today. Thank you for
What
getting
about
to the end.
prize?
We have a giveaway.
Giveaway, that's right.
If you are a listener of the podcast, and even if, again, like you've just listened to this one for the first time, we want to know who you are. We want relationship with you guys. We see the regular listens every week, and we are so appreciative of that. We want to know you as well. We do know some of you. We have had messages from people that we don't know personally. We also know those of you that are our personal friends that have been supporting us along the way. Love it all. So in honor of building and fostering the community and the relationship side of our podcast, 30 episodes in, this is 31 episodes, we would love to hear from you. So if you are wanting to enter this giveaway, DM us. DM us on Instagram if you have it and just say, I'm here. That's all you have to say. Doesn't have to be some long, awkward intro if you don't want to. If you do want to message us and just introduce yourselves, we would love that too.
Yeah,
we'll get back to you and have a chat back and forth. So just DM us, I'm here. And then we will enter you into the giveaway of $100 digital gift card of your choosing. If you don't have Instagram, feel free to email us at honeyweneedtochat@gmail.com. It'll happen one day. Instagram is also Honey We Need a Chat. So
also go onto our website. It's another way.
Website is another way you can contact us too. Yeah, email us or DM us on Instagram. Say I'm here. That's all you have to say, and then we'll get back to you with details for your entry.
Or chatters, you can put it on Patreon, so you can write into the Patreon chat there as well. Say I'm here.
Yeah, and so this is only going to be open for the week of this episode, which is the 31st episode of this podcast. By the time episode 32 comes out, it will be closed. So if you are listening 6 months from now and you can see that there are 62 episodes,
this is not for you.
This is not for you. I'm so sorry. But please do still DM us and say I'm here because we want to chat to you. So we would love to hear from you guys. Please hop on.
I'm here.
All right. Thanks so much, guys. We'll chat to you next week.
Good chat. Thanks, guys.